Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Board Game Captain, and today I'm going to be doing a top 7 Gipf Project games. Now, you might be asking yourself, why a top 7, not a top 10? And that's because there's only 7 games in the Gipf Project. I'm a huge fan, though, of the Gipf Project, and all of these games are games I rate positively. And I was having a discussion with one of my viewers, Joey Salt. I'm giving a shout out to Joey Salt, because we were discussing the different Gipf Project games, both on some of my reviews I've done of a couple of the games, and also on the top 10 list I did of abstract strategy games. And I asked him, I ran an idea by him about an idea I have had to do this list. And he encouraged me to do so, so here it is. And without any further ado, I'm going to go through my top 7 Gipf Project games. Number 7. Okay, so my number 7 game, and in my opinion, the weakest game in the Gipf series, though I do rate them all positively. The lowest scored game, this one being the lowest scored, is a 7 out of 10 for me, is Czar. Now, Czar is a game where you randomly deal out your pieces. The pieces are broken up first into 2 colors, white and black, and then further into 3 types of pieces, Czars, Tsarinas, and Tots. Now, there is no difference in the way the pieces act, just in the quantity of them. The Czars you have the fewest of, then the second fewest of the Tsarinas, and then the most of the Tots. And the object of the game is you kind of move along through any number of unbroken empty spaces till you hit an opponent's piece that you can jump on top of to capture it, be on top of that stack. And what you want to do is make your opponent run out of one of their types of pieces. It's the gist of the game. You can also take moves onto your own pieces. You get like 2 moves a turn. It's a good game. But while a lot of other people rate this one very highly, for instance, I happen to know Z Garcia over on the Dice Tower has Czar as his number 1 of his favorite games in the Gipf series. For me, it felt a little too basic, like old school abstract strategy games. The only things that really set it apart for me were the random setup and the interesting kind of trying to maintain stacks with all 3 of your types of pieces on top of them, because if you run out of any single type of piece, you lose. It is a good game. I do like it, but in my opinion, it was the least innovative of all of the games in a very innovative series. And someone had to be on the bottom. So for me, my number 7, that was Czar. But again, I do rate positively every one of these games, and this is still a really good game, and I will not part with any of the games in the Gipf series. So that is my number 7, Czar. Number 6. My number 6 game in the Gipf series is Punkt. Now, Punkt, which I'm holding totally in the wrong direction, is a bizarre game with some really odd-looking pieces. You play on this octagonally shaped board, and you can either put a piece down, or you can take one of your pieces, and in the colored spot of the piece, you can draw a straight line across the board to move the whole piece and then turn it. The dot is called the Punkt, and that dot has to go in a straight line, but then once it lands, it can turn, and if you can land it with the Punkt on top of one of your own pieces that you have previously placed on the board, and then turn it so that it even covers parts of some of your opponent's pieces, it can go up to a second level, then later on to third levels, etc., and block other pieces from moving. And the object of the game is to draw a line or a road with your own pieces from one end of the board all the way across to the other end. There's also some cool, interesting variants in here. This is a really good game. I think this is often an overlooked entry to the series, but I quite like it. And that is my number 6 game in the Gipf series, Punkt. Number 5. My number 5 game in the Gipf series is another one that I think is often overlooked. It is the series' namesake, and the only one with a 4-letter title, Gipf. Now, Gipf is an interesting game where you start by placing a piece on one of these dots on the edge of the board and then moving the piece along one of the lines, one intersection into the board. If it runs into another piece, regardless of who owns it, it will push that piece one more intersection also, and if that piece runs into another piece, it'll keep moving. The only restriction is you can't push stuff off the other end of the board onto one of those dots. Now what you're trying to do is you're trying to line up 4 of your own pieces. If you line up 4 of your own pieces in a row, you can score them. Now, anything else that is touching those 4 pieces, regardless of whether it is owned by you or your opponent, will also be removed from the board. If it's owned by you, you take it back along with the 4 pieces you got in a row and can continue using it to make turns, while if it's owned by your opponent, you capture it and they don't get to take it back. And basically you keep playing until someone cannot take a turn. So not only is it important to drop sets of 4 down to take your opponent's pieces, but it's also important to get those pieces back so you can keep making moves. Now, there are a lot of people that put this all the way in the bottom of their list, but I actually find the strategy in this and the playstyle quite interesting and quite fun. And Lynn likes this game too, so this is one that we both play together and we both enjoy quite a bit. And that is my number 5 game of the Gipf series for me, and that is Gipf. Number 4. Now, my number 4 game in the Gipf series is the newest game in the Gipf series. They hadn't had a new game in a long time, and then recently came out with Link. Now, Link is an interesting one where color plays a very important role, because you start by randomly placing out all the different color pieces, and then what you want to do is you want to jump pieces on top of each other, but stacks are never allowed to have more than one of the same color, except for the wild pieces. There are 3 wild pieces that look like this on the board, and you can have multiples of those because at the end they can count as any color that you want. But the goal of the game is to get a stack with all 5 colors in it, with the one on top being one that you control. To start with, nobody controls any of the colors, but during the game, once on a turn, you're allowed to claim a color. And you can do this twice so that each of you will eventually wind up controlling 2 of the colors. Now, there's a couple things that are better when you control colors. One is that if you control a color, only you can move a stack that has that color on top. And 2, if a piece of that color can jump on a stack of any size, whereas when moving a neutral piece, a piece that no one controls the color of, you can only jump onto a stack that is equal to or smaller than it. So if that piece is on top of a stack of 2, it could jump on a 1 or a 2, but not on top of a 3. And then also, of course, you can only claim the stacks if you control the piece on top. The object of the game is to keep going until no one can make a move, and then whoever has claimed the most stacks wins the game of Link. This is a really enjoyable game. I have a lot of fun with this. I really like the way you have to really think in depth about your moves and be careful and plan ahead. Also, there's a really extra mechanic I forgot to mention called linking, where if you have, and this is something that's a benefit for once you control a color, because if you control a color and you can draw a straight line uninterrupted to a piece of the same color, what you can do is use it as a link point. And it's because you can't jump on a piece of the same color, because again, no stack can have the same color more than once. You hit that stack and you make a second move immediately off from that stack, either towards another piece or stack with the same color or towards your goal. You can link multiple times. So you can be like, all right, well, I'm gonna link this green to that green to jump on there. And you might say, well, why not just move this one onto there? Well, what if this one already had one of the same color in its stack as that? It can't move onto there, but this one doesn't, so I can link through and get there. It can also let you go around corners and whatnot that you wouldn't normally be able to go around to be able to make your stacks of 5 different colors. Link is a really fun game, and it is my number 4 in my rankings for the Gipf series. Number 3. My number 3 in the Gipf series is a game that Alex and I play for ages, game after game, and just really love the strategies of, and that is Dvan. Now, Dvan is a really interesting, another stacking game where you can only move pieces that are along the outside, and you can only usually move a piece or a stack that is topped by your own color, either black or white, and the pieces have to move onto a occupied space. They can't move onto the blank intersections. And they have to move a number of intersections equal to how big the stack is. So a single piece can move on top of one piece. But a stack of two needs to move two spaces. Has to. If it can't go to an occupied space that many spaces away, it can't move. But in addition to this, there are these link pieces, which also can be jumped on. They can't be moved by themselves, but if you jump on them, then you can move them because you have your piece on top. And the thing about the link pieces is you must stay connected to them in some way between other pieces like this, like all these pieces shown here, to stay alive. If any move separates you out from all link pieces, where you have blank intersections between you and the link pieces, you're just removed from the board. Out. And at the end of the game, whoever has control of the most pieces, whoever has basically the combined largest stack, you take all your stacks off and pile them up, wins the game. So an easy way to explain that, if black were to take this piece and jump on top of this white piece, both that black piece and that white piece would now be disconnected from all the links because they're on the edge of the board and that's the closest divan piece. They would no longer be connected to that divan piece. They would now be gone. They'd just be removed. This is a really fun game, and it's got, because of those two different elements, it has you thinking about two things at once during every move, which is really, really cool. Because you can play to disconnect your opponent's pieces from the board to reduce their score, or you can play to jump on top to increase your score. And you gotta sometimes do both. And it's really, really awesome. And that is Divan. Number 2. My number 2 game in the Link series, and wow, what a series. As I'm going through these, I do realize I really do enjoy every one of these games. But my number 2 game is Lynn's number 1 game. I know this for a fact. She has said it on many occasions. It is her favorite game in the entire series, and that is Zerts. Now, Zerts is, in my opinion, the most interesting looking game in the series, with its marbles on top of these little rings here. Let me show you what it looks like out on the table. It just looks so freaking cool on the table. So many times playing this at the coffee house, we have gotten people stopping and looking at it and asking us what we're playing. This is a great game. You have 2 possible moves you can make. You can either place a marble of any of the colors out on the board and then remove one of the rings from the board. In this way, the board slowly gets occupied while the board shrinks. The other move is a mandatory move. If you can make a jump like you would in checkers, you must make that jump. When making jumps, if making the jump would then allow you to be able to make another jump because you're next to now another marble, you can continue and make multiple jumps, double and even triple jumps. Anything you jump over, you get to capture, and you put them on the rings that you have previously removed from the board. And in this way, you start to set collect, and you can win the game if you collect either 4 white rings, 5 gray rings, 6 black rings, or 3 rings of each of the 3 colors. And that is how you win the game of Zerts. This is a really fun game. I love how the board slowly shrinks. Another thing that's really interesting in this, which has this similarity to Divan about isolating things. If you pull rings out to isolate an area of the board that had marbles on it, that whole area will be removed. And if it's removed, the marbles count as captured by you. So that's an alternate way to capture marbles. Sometimes your opponent doesn't see it, and you can just place and remove and get that all-important, say, like white marble, which are the hardest ones to get because there's the least of them. This is a really fun game. It is one of my favorite coffee house games, and that is my number 2 game in the Gipf series, Zerts. And now it is time for number 1. Okay, it is now time for my number 1 game in the Gipf series, and this is one that I know that is Alex's favorite game in the Gipf series as well. I've played it with him a lot, and that is Yinch. Now, Yinch is an amazing game, and one that actually shares very little in common with the other games of the Gipf series. Some of them have a lot of similarities. There's a lot of stacking games in the series, like Divan, Link, and Czar, but this one is one that is very different from everything else in the series. So similar in how it's unique to, say, Zerts or Punkt, because they are so unique from the rest of the games in the series. So now with Yinch, the thing is you get these rings and you put them on at the beginning of the game, you put the rings on the board. And then when you want to move the rings around, what you do is you place one of these discs inside of the ring, with your color face up, and then you can move the ring any number of uninterrupted spaces across the board. And if it runs into other rings, it has to stop. It can't jump over them. But if it runs into other discs, it can jump over one group of discs and then must stop on the very next open space. And then all the discs it jumps over flip sides. And the object of the game is to try to get discs in a row of 5 in a row on the board, and when you do, you get to remove those and remove one of your rings from the board and put it on your scoring side. And once you do that 3 times, you win the game. Now, the 5 in a row is the one thing where this has some similarities to other games, because there are a lot of games in the Gipf series, similarities to other games specifically in the Gipf series. There are some other games in the Gipf series that do have lining up 4 in a row or 5 in a row, like Gipf does, and well, it's really just Gipf is the only other one I'm trying to think. I don't think any of the others have that lining up kind of mechanic. But this has the flipping of sides, which is closer in feel to the old game Othello, whereas the lining up of pieces feels a lot like the family of games that 9 Men's Morris and 6 Men's Morris were a part of, the various 3 Windmills games. But this marries those two things really, really well. And this is actually not just my #1 game in the Gipf series, but this is my #1 abstract strategy game of all time. I absolutely adore Yinch. I will play this game anytime. I ask to play this game anytime. But now here is a fun thing about the way that abstract strategy game rules, the way they can really influence how you would rate a game. I love the rules and mechanics in this, and so does Alex, but Lynn is not a fan of them at all, and this is her least favorite game in the entire series, even though it's my #1. And that's a very interesting thing about opinions, and especially about opinions in regard to abstract strategy games, because abstract strategy games are usually built around very specific mechanics that either they click with you or they don't. But for me, this one really clicks. And that is my #1 game in the Gipf series, Yinch. So I would love to hear from you guys. Anyone comment down below. Have you played all the games of the Gipf series? Comment down below and let me know what order you would put the Gipf series in, from your least favorite to your favorite. Especially Joey Salt. If you watch this, I really want to see what your top 7 is for the Gipf series. So please comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see me do more like it, be sure to give it a like. Share it on all forms of social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Kaptain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.